Prosecutors announced the first charges today in what they describe as a massive fraud scheme targeting Minnesota's Housing Stabilization Services. 8 men are accused of essentially stealing $10 million in taxpayer money. Fox 9's Corin Hoggard is live at the federal courthouse tonight. And Corin, this is a lot of money we are talking about here, but it sounds like this is just the tip of the iceberg at this point.
Yes, Simone, Minnesota was the first state to launch Medicaid's Housing Stabilization Services program. That was back in 2020, and it was supposed to cost like $2 or $3 million a year to try to help find and keep housing for folks like seniors and people with mental illness or just coming into recovery from alcohol or drugs. Instead of $2 or $3 million, though, it ended up costing more than $300 million over the course of 4.5 years. And federal prosecutors say that's because almost none of that actually went to help the people who needed the help. It was basically just all stolen.
Wow. When you think of these kinds of frauds, you think of course, the victims, the innocent people on the other end. Corin, you mentioned this being a relatively new program. How did investigators say it became such a hotbed for fraud where this kind of essentially just fell through the cracks?
Yeah, the Housing Stabilization Services program came into effect basically around the same time as a few others that really had like low barriers to people to get in. They were designed that way. I'm talking like child nutrition services that led to Feeding Our Future, and also autism center funding. And you know, the way that these things were designed, prosecutors say the fraudsters found and exploited the weaknesses, and they exploited them pretty hardcore. They say that basically, you know, the systems were not designed to handle a barrage of fraud, and so they were just kind of overwhelmed.
Everyone enrolls a company in, say, the Housing Stabilization Services. It's not just 10 or 20, but literally hundreds of them. And they all enroll essentially at the same time shortly after the program is started and start billing in a fraudulent way. It just overwhelms the system. And we've seen that in program after program after program.
So, Corin, let's talk about the people who are accused now. Are they still in business? Are they in custody? Where are they?
Yeah, well, 5 of the 8 folks who've been charged appeared in court here today. They all pleaded not guilty to all the charges. One of them actually told me that he's looking forward to seeing the evidence and proving his innocence. All 8 of the defendants will eventually be released on bond. They will be out in the community, but they will have conditions, including that they're not really allowed to communicate with anybody else who's involved in the HSS program on any level. As far as being in business, we did talk to some of their neighbors today. The lights were still on in some of the businesses, but really everybody around them says not much activity lately.
Wow, what a story. Well, I guess interested to hear what they have to say. Corin Hoggard reporting live in Minneapolis tonight. Thank you, Corin.